So, welcome to the Flow Sport podcast.
Colin.
Thank you again for joining me, Gordon Smith.
Pleasure.
Join myself, Colin Stevenson, and today I'm looking into talk a wee bit more in depth in comparison to the last podcast we did. You know, we spoke very much about interactions. We spoke very much about, you know, the way people are managed, you know, these type of things. Today, I want to go in and put some facts out there, you know, so it might be kind of felt, might be triggered by some people. But again, we spoke just at the end of the last podcast about the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Now, the elephant in the room is my favourite part of the room because, again, if we don't deal with it, it's always going to sit there, you know. So I just want to put out here, so in 2017, there was an article put out on the government website, okay? And it says here, 37% of professional footballers suffered anxiety and depression in 2017. Now, that is a lot.
It's a high figure that. I wouldn't have thought it as much as that, but I know there's a lot of it, but I wouldn't have thought it was as high as 37%.
So what they'll do is they'll talk to people maybe behind the scenes. They'll go and see their doctor, or they'll see their psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll then do, but that'll all go into the national statistics as such, So, go forward 5 years, we've just had 2 years of a major pandemic.
Yes.
And, you know, there's not been as much playing. You know, there's been different aspects and beliefs and everything getting put out there. People staying at home, you know, poor interactions at home, relationship breakdowns, all these things due to the stress of the world. Never mind just themselves and the playing, you know. So we believe like that 37%, there's no point even taking a guess how high this effect is. Now, we have got lots of different things that we can talk about. However, psychology is great because that allows us to see the effects of what's happening. Yeah. And they can easily diagnose somebody. They have anxiety, they have depression, they have X, Y, and Z. But no one's really looking at the first cause, you know, because they believe that somebody's behaviour was a first cause, but that was still an effect of an interaction of a relationship or a conversation or an interaction. So that's where we've got to really realise that there's a lot more to life than that, you know, and there's a lot more that isn't being looked at. Now, I want to take you back to the FA Cup final, okay, and I believe that was 1983, is that right?
Yeah.
So the FA Cup final, you were playing for Brighton.
Against Manchester United.
Manchester, that's a big, big game.
Yeah.
And can you talk a bit about the pressure of that game?
Well, it was a pressurised game. I'd been fortunate. I'd played in cup finals in Scotland, so I was probably, I think, the only player in the team that day, apart from Jimmy Case at Brighton. I think he'd played in the cup final with Liverpool. Yep. So I'd played in cup finals before, so I was just looking forward to it. I didn't really feel great pressure. I just felt this is going to be a great occasion, so I'm going to enjoy it, you know. So what happened was we led 1. I scored the first goal that day. We were 1-0 up at half time. Went to Manchester United, went 2-1 up, then we scored late on, went to extra time, and the last minute of extra time, I had the chance. Now, what happened was the commentator said, and Smith must score, and he didn't, and it was a radio commentator, so it became a famous phrase, Smith must score, because even the fanzine of Brighton got named that, and Smith must score, and it was one of those things that it's been hard to cope with. Now, I was more or less, I wasn't really down, didn't make me depressed or anything like that. But what happened was I felt sorry for my teammates, my manager, and the fans that I'd missed. That's who I felt sorry for. I didn't feel, I was angry with myself more than anything else, more than being depressed. But I just felt that, okay, you go on with your career, you make it happen. We went to the replay and we lost 4-0 in the replay. We didn't play that badly, but we got beaten 4-0 and just had to deal with it. Now, it became very famous because even when I went to Manchester City, I was over in Kuala Lumpur 2 years later, and a little kid was round for the autographs, and I signed his little book, and he said, "Oh, you're Gordon Smith?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "How are you missing cup final?" That's what he said to me, and I went, "This is Kuala Lumpur." I'm thinking, 2 years later, but it's been remembered ever since. There's loads of people still to this day remember my miss. Now, I did cope with it, as I say. I was angry about what I'd done, and I felt sorry for people, but I was able to cope with the fact that, okay, it didn't happen for me. I didn't get a winner's medal. I didn't score the winning goal in a cup final, and I had to deal with it.
Yep. Well, I completely understand that. Now, do you believe that everybody else in that position would have been able to have handled that as well?
I don't think so, no. I think some people might have found it tougher because I say I was fortunate that I'd had a good career prior to that in terms of winning, being successful. Maybe that was a big factor for me mentally in terms of being able to deal with a miss like that, a cup final. Now, after the game, the second game, I swapped shirts with a Manchester United player, Alan Davis, young player who came in for that game. And so he was in the winning team that day. He got a winner's medal, and I swapped shirts with him. And I still have his shirt to this day.
I think you've got it
I've
beside
got
you
it
there,
beside
don't
me
you?
here.
Let's have a
And
look
here
at
it is. That was it. There's no names
Wow.
in the shirts in those days. He was number 11.
1983. One number up from you. You're number
Manchester
10.
United. Now, 10 years later, no, 9 years later, in fact, the day of my brother's, it was my brother's 40th birthday, but I was always shocked the fact that it came across the news that Alan Davis had committed suicide that day.
Wow.
That young lad who 21 years of age he was when he won that cup. I've got his shirt there now. He's a cup winner and wins a FA Cup for Manchester United, but did that really cure him of whatever his problems were? Poor soul, obviously had other major problems. He dropped his little girl off at school and went and committed suicide. So that shows you the element that the problems that are in the game in football. He was still a player at that time. He was playing for Swansea, but for the fact that he committed suicide shows that it's not always one thing. It's not always success.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're mentally okay, and failure, like my own case, didn't mean to say I was going to be harmed by it.
Yeah.
So that's a crucial aspect of football is important, but it's mainly about your private life and other issues that can also come into it.
Absolutely. Now, people, I mean, terrible for, obviously, for Alan, for his family and
Yes.
fans and everything. I mean, that's, to be able to look at that top and realise that person never wore that again, you know, and these type of things, I mean, you literally feel it.
Correct. It's sad still to have that because I thought, I've got this shirt of a player who,
Like, a bittersweet memory almost.
He asked for my shirt. I swapped with him, and now he's dead at 30 years of age.
And this day and age now, we're still seeing as much pressure, if not more, as we spoke about in the last podcast about cancel culture.
Yeah.
People bringing in people's now personal life to do with their mental health. And I mean, I don't want to name names. I will talk about somebody just shortly, which is very new and came into the news. But I've watched, a few players that they've used their mental health journey and their behaviour against them. Is that ever going to help people?
Yeah, I don't know if it will, but I mean, at the end of the day, there's loads of problems. I say mental health. You're just wondering why it could be down to the individual person as well. Yeah. In terms of it's like I've made this point before about different things, but you take the scenario that you could have two people and they both smoke 25 cigarettes a day, and one gets lung cancer and one doesn't. Now they'll say the smoking caused the lung cancer, but it's lung cancer and the metabolism of that person, and it's the same with depression and things like that. It's the person, but it's their mentality and maybe their uniqueness that causes these problems. As I say, regardless of just what's the incidents that have arisen in their life. It's not just about that. It's the incidents allied to that person's unique mental state, and that's why you get a lot of problems from it. And that's why what you're bringing in, and that's why I'm very interested in it, is because you're trying to identify the unique situation in each person, and that's crucial.
Absolutely. But what you usually find is each individual don't understand the uniqueness of themselves.
That's right.
And that's why they can't correct managers, parents, friends, family members, fans, and say, well, you can't talk to me like that, actually, because that drains me.
I know why you're talking to me like that.
Because you understand them.
Because you're a different type of person. That's
absolutely. Right. And this is where, again, we don't have anything measurable. We can measure people's personalities based on their life at that time.
Yeah.
And what I would like to discuss with you just quickly, so for that, we'll put Alan Davis in. It's like one day he could have been all right.
Yeah.
The next day something could have happened that changed his whole personality and rocked his whole world.
Yeah.
And then something could have made it better the next day that took him back, but not quite for the person that he was before it.
Yes.
Because the experience still happened.
Yeah.
And that means your personality can change over hours, never mind days.
Yeah.
So we can't really measure everything on personality.
No.
And this is why, again, coming from psychology, coming from effects, it's all needed. It's all needed to understand it. It's all great. But they've not got a first cause or a way that people gain energy. And this is where we've got a proven model for the mind and the brain.
Yeah.
You know, through Flow Sport, working with Flow Cess. It's proves that the energy that we gain is unconscious rather than conscious.
Right.
So consciously, me wanting to kind of bring energy to myself, having maybe go and buy myself a pair of shoes, or, you know, go on a date, or watch a funny film, or that's me consciously trying to make myself happy, or constantly trying to change. If I was in interactions daily with people who understood me, spoke to me the way that I wanted to be spoken to, encouraged me the way that I want to be encouraged, and really were willing to make the effort intentionally every time I was with them,
Yes.
that would allow me to be more open and free within myself.
Yes.
And I'm sure you would agree with the same about you.
Totally.
And that means the world would be different. But however, if we just concentrate on football for the moment, imagine you had a full team of people where you understood why, how, where, what, and who.
Yeah.
This then totally changes every aspect of training.
Yeah.
Every aspect of, you know, choosing your team.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about, you know, skill at the feet. It's about putting together the right people who have the right conversations and interactions.
Yes.
So, I mean, I watched a game last week where it was pretty much a B team that were playing against a first team, and the B team won.
Yeah.
And it was all because, you know, these people that have been on, they were hungry.
Yes.
You know, that they're hungry, but they don't get the chance because obviously
they were more determined because they were considered the B team as opposed to the A team. Yeah. That happens a lot in football. There's no doubt about it. Somebody maybe goes on as a substitute and desperate to show that I should have been in the team to start with. You know what I mean? There's no doubt about it. I think that it's a big factor, especially in sport, about how, well, a team sport more so than an individual sport, about trying to at times demonstrate that, you know, I'm not getting treated the way I should be.
Yep. Now, if you can imagine a manager and has a better interaction with somebody and gives them the position and gives them that position for the day where the other person has more skill, they're more in flow, less issues. But, you know, better focus. But because of the interaction and the choice of the manager, without having that, that could be a bad choice, and it could lose the game for the other team.
Yes.
Or for their team, sorry. And the other team could win. So it just shows you that until we understand, until we have something measurable, which I know we do and have proven it over the last 4 years, that there's something that's able to come in and allow better interactions anywhere, that they're never going to have that edge. You know, you can't have an edge until you have all the information.
Yes.
And, you know, I've seen people that they're now bringing, you know, people in to teach them how to throw the ball in better.
Yes.
Not going to give you an edge.
No.
Yeah, they might be able to throw a ball in better, but if they're not in flow that day, what they've learned doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, and this is it. And, you know, well, we can give them this new diet. Again, if they're not mentally in flow and they're not being taught how to be themselves and how to use that ability that they have in the moment, it's not going to benefit them.
Yeah.
You know, so it becomes really difficult. So I want to talk about, while we're on, you know, mental health, and while we're talking about, you know, real scenarios, I mean, there'll be how many players and families of players over the last how many decades that something's happened, but it could have been prevented.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been prevented, or they blame somebody for the interaction, but a lot of it comes down to us knowing yourself. And this is what you've shown throughout the conversations that you've had. You had mental strength that you were then able to take, you know, the position you were in and use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that because they don't understand themselves very well, you know, and it proves because, you know, all these years later from your first game for Kilmarnock at 16, you're still in the game.
Yeah.
How many people at 25, players, no matter what sport we're in, at 25, they don't understand themselves, so they can't carry on with the game, they retire, and they might be out building houses or working in Tesco or doing these things. And it's not because they don't have the ability anymore.
No.
And this is where you and I have had really deep discussions about it. If you had the ability at the beginning, you've still got the ability now.
Yeah.
Okay, you might not have the fitness levels, but you've still got the ability.
That's right. It's not about ability.
It's not about ability, and it's not about diet, and it's not about getting specialists in to show you a fancy kick or how to throw a ball in.
Yeah.
It's about how to get players to flow intentionally by speaking to them uniquely, acting towards them uniquely, using, you know, every interaction to them uniquely, and then bring it together as a team and allowing everyone to understand how that works.
Yes.
But I think this has been overlooked forever.
Yeah.
You know, and this is where you and I have kind of come together and we've kind of joined forces. So We've not got the solution to everything, but what we're looking to do, but we've got the dissolve to most.
Yes.
Everything that requires team cohesion, performance, starts with communication.
Yes, definitely.
First of all, the definition of one word can be different between you and I.
Yeah.
That means we're never going to agree.
I know.
So we need to understand people's definitions. We need to understand their uniqueness. We need to understand what gets them going, what else stops them from going. Because again, we can, as we spoke about, we can destroy someone's chances.
Yes.
Just as easy as we can give them the best chance.
Yeah, definitely.
And this
it's all about, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's all about the individual player. And what I said before was you're actually trying to get the best out of people. Because if you're a manager, the one thing you want is everybody giving their all, everybody being motivated, everybody being up for it, being looking after themselves in the right way in terms of how they're living their lives, making sure that, you know, in the background, you need to know that their family lives are okay and things are fine. That's things you maybe should be asking about, finding out about their personality, how they are, exactly where they are. In terms of, you only want to put people in the team for a match day if you know that they're mentally in the right place.
Absolutely.
Because that's a big factor. I mean, you might have great ability, like great fitness and all that, but if they're not right up here, then they're not going to be doing the job you're wanting them to do. Yeah. And if you're a manager, that's what you're looking for. Initially, 11 players right away who are of the right mentality.
Yep. Now, again, we spoke about in the last podcast about people unwilling to change.
Yeah.
It's massive because they go, we can't add that in. We've not got enough time to do this. We don't have we don't have the people or the knowledge to be able to get that done. We have that knowledge.
Yes.
So we're not looking to go in and stop people from doing what they're doing. You carry on, you do this. But what we're going to do is we're going to add this information. We're going to show you how to intentionally get people to flow. Now, people usually will put the term flow with, Buddhism and, sitting there in meditation and stuff like that. It's not.
No.
Because if we gain energy unconsciously, we're being spoken to, dealt with, and our interactions are all unconscious, we're going to feel safe. So we're not going to have to consciously do anything.
Yeah.
Which puts people into this kind of flow state.
Yeah.
And that's living their life as a daily basis.
There's no doubt I would say to you that you're going to find in this situation. It's been my experience in the past. There'll be certain people will react to it negatively because that's happens with everything in football. Things I spoke about before in the last podcast about trying to introduce things and if it's new, if it's something I've never heard of before, oh no, we don't want that. Or sometimes people in certain positions are known. I remember one time going to a club regarding it was to do with stem cell treatment, and the doctors said, "Oh no, that's we don't know enough about that. We don't want it." Rather than saying, "Well, let's find out more about it. Let's find out if stem cell treatment could actually be an improvement to improving injured players." So you'll get reaction to that. There's no question about it. It'll not be positive with everyone, but I'm hoping that there'll be enough people in the game who will see, even the psychologist people who will see this as another step beyond the psychology element that they've already been dealing with. To make
their jobs easier.
Should make their jobs easier, yeah.
So do you believe if you're not helping, you're harming?
Yes, definitely.
That's the way that I feel. If you're not helping somebody, you're harming them.
Absolutely.
So for people not to even take the time to look into it, or for people to not even try and understand or contact, would that mean that they are harming people? For me, it's yes. It's
definitely.
You're allowing abuse to happen.
Definitely.
And if we are putting these people, we've got to remember, first of all, every single player in every single sport is a human being at first.
Yeah.
And it might sound soft, or that's not the way a man should speak, or that's not the way we do it here, which is great. However, do you believe in harming somebody to make their life or make your life better in your position? The answer is no.
No.
Okay. And if anyone believes it is, it's them that are going to lose the energy. So I want to look at two definitions from you, or with you, sorry.
Yes.
First of all is anxiety, because we've got here the 37%, which is now skyrocketed after the pandemic. The definition of anxiety would be worried about a future event. So to be able for people to believe that they have anxiety would be a belief that's all over the world at the moment. For me, you can't have anxiety. I can have a conversation with you. I can have a Jack Russell dog. I can have a cup of coffee, but I can't hold anxiety in my hand.
No.
So what causes me to feel this anxious thoughts and feel these anxious ways is the not being able to understand how I think, not understand how my brain works, not understand or not allow other people to understand how to interact with me.
Yeah.
So then there's worry,
Yes.
you know. But if we're able to allow people to understand how their brain works,
Yeah.
and then we're able to allow other interactions to come in, we are then giving them priceless information
Yes.
to stop people feeling that they have anxiety.
Of course. I mean, I've seen anxiety a lot in the football terms, and just in the fact people are nervous about certain games. I mean, I was fortunate, and I look back, and big games I loved it. I loved the atmosphere of a big game, big crowd. Some people can't deal with that, and it's strange because you get to a high level in the football, you think that's what you want. I mean, I see people even going on to like programs like the X Factor and all that, and they say, "Oh, I'm really nervous. I go and like singing." I think, well, if that's what you like, why do you want to go on X Factor and become successful?
Because the way they thought about it before they went on.
Correct, because you're going to, if you become successful, you're going to have to experience this all the time,
Absolutely.
singing in front of a big audience. So why are you nervous, anxious about it? And a lot of people are, because they find it hard, and that's down to obviously we've spoken about it before, the personality of the person.
Yeah, the personality, the uniqueness all come together. Now, the second definition I want to look at is depression.
Yeah.
So the way that people are programmed and the way that people believe depression is feeling down, feeling low, feeling sad because of an event, because of, something bad happened to them, or, the effects of something.
Yes.
Okay. My definition of depression is that you can't have it. You can have a fancy car.
Yeah.
You can have a lot of money. Okay. You can't have depression. This is my belief.
Yes.
Now, the reason I believe that you can't have depression is because you can have depressive thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But what is depression? I believe it's lack of energy.
Yeah.
If you were completely energized and completely focused, could you be depressed?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
So what happens is lack of focus and lack of energy that we now know through the science that's come from America over, 26, 27 years with the mind and the brain.
Yep.
If energy is all unconscious, how we get it, and we're not buying the shoes, we're not going with that partner, we're not, doing these things.
Yeah.
If it's all unconscious, does that mean effectively that we could have a full team of players that can't be depressed because they understand how their mind and brain works? Their interactions are all healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's done on purpose in order to energize that person.
Yes.
Then they can focus, which means they're focused and energized.
Yes.
That then means that sounds like a win-win recipe to me.
Yeah. Definitely.
To go along with exactly what's already in the sport.
Definitely. If you can handle that and handle the depression, then it's a big factor, because there's no question about it. A player is not going to be his best at all if he's in depression, because he's going to take that mindset onto the field with him, and he's not going to be his best.
But it's also catching.
Yeah.
If you're in a low mindset and you put it onto somebody else on the team because they feel sorry for you, they might be really close to you.
Yeah.
I feel really bad. I'm just going to make sure he's all right. And they turn, they miss the ball. There's lots of other factors that the ripple effect then takes it in.
Definitely.
However, I believe we can all go through experiences in life.
Yeah.
Some are happier than others. Some are, worse than others. Some are sad. Some are angry. But if we look at things as an experience and we're living and being spoken to and dealt with and interacted with, such as our uniqueness, it means we can take it beyond that.
Yeah.
So we're not allowing that to pull us back, and we're focused on kind of moving forward,
Yes.
So I want to talk about, I actually just watched it last night. It was a Sky Sports interview, and it was with a player called Jake Daniels, and he plays for Blackpool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since I think was it Justin Fashanu that came out and said he was gay, and how long ago was this?
Well, it was about 35, 40 years ago.
Okay, so since then, Jake Daniels is the first man to turn in and say, I am gay, live in sport while he's still playing. He's done it very young in his career as well. Now, what I think it's great, the fact that, he feels strong enough to go out and just be himself. I think it's fantastic.
Yes.
Whatever somebody's sexuality is has nothing to do with anybody.
No.
And the fact that in this day and age, it's been made an issue of what somebody's preference is.
I know.
It's taken away of who that player, that person, who they are uniquely.
Yes. I've a lot of time for him for doing that, actually, because there's no doubt about it. If it come out in any other way, he'll still probably get a lot of abuse, because that's what football fans do. They try to affect the player. I've seen it over the years. If anything happens in somebody's life, people give them abuse from the stand. Sometimes it's derogatory, really bad, at times, but that's definitely going to happen. So I'm pretty sure he's been advised to expect that,
Yep.
and that's the good thing about it. Saying, it's good you've come out, but you need to know that this is you're going to have people are going to throw this in your face. Yeah, and
now this is the question that I want people asking. The people that are listening to us.
yeah,
How can you treat a player or a man as a gay man?
yeah.
How can you treat them like that? You can't.
No.
How are you going to energize them by the what that they are, the label that you've given them?
It's just like anything else. It's discrimination of people. We've seen it in terms of racism as well. We've seen it in terms of even the religious side of things. We get it in Scotland. You know what I mean? The sectarianism. There's these things that are there, and there's no doubt about it. Some people like to demonstrate that and make an issue of it.
Yep.
And they're the problem. But I would always say, and I would say the same to him, as I said to a young black player who once came to me when I was at SFA, because he was going to give up the game, and I brought him in to talk to him not to give up, and he is actually a professional player now. He was going to give up playing football, and I said, these people don't demean you, they demean themselves.
Absolutely.
And remember that, they demean themselves, not you.
And talking about, I believe talking to somebody for what they are, whether it's race, religion, sexual preference, or sexual orientation, whatever you want to call it, I believe that's abuse, because you're singling them out and treating them different because of that.
Yes.
What Flow Sport is looking to do is take people in and treat them who they are uniquely as a human being.
Yes.
Where it doesn't matter
what
they look like, where they're from, what their orientation is, anything like that, because we need, in sport, we need a universal language.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if we need to translate or we need to do it. The universal language is the interaction.
Yes.
We want to energize and bring people together, to bring the team cohesion, to have less injuries because they're in flow.
Mm-hmm.
Injuries happen when players aren't in flow.
Yeah.
So they see the ball come, they think about something, sugar, I need to go in, twisted my ankle, or I've misinterpreted that pass. So what we are looking to do is to bring them into flow and talk to each other as to who they are.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what we feel sexually or where we stay, how we get brought up, what country we came from.
Yeah.
What matters is that we energize each other and bring that together. And it's really, really, really prevalent to this day and age because most people are abusing other people.
Yeah. But you got all the social media side of things too. You never had in my day as well. That's another aspect I think that's involved in causing anxiety and depression. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
So again, it's like the thing that we're trying to cure, we're making worse.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any measurable way of understanding a human.
Yep.
Before personality.
Yes.
And they don't have any measurable ways of putting interactions in place on purpose to allow it to be dissolved.
Yeah.
And this is where, today is massive in the stuff that we're talking about. And I really want people to think, if you're not making a difference to make it better, you are making it worse.
Yes.
And again, that sounds like blame. But I used to make things worse in my life because I didn't understand who I was or how I wanted to be interacted with.
Yeah.
And we've all done it.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of it. So the things we're all guilty of and wanting to change, there's still guilt there, So this is what I want people to imagine, just to kind of bring this to a close. Imagine playing a game for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine being so in flow that you're not allowing other things to focus. You spend all this time, all these training sessions, all your life trying to be the best that you can be.
Yep.
And while other factors are affecting you, it's not fun to play your game.
Mm.
Yes, you're on the superstar wages. Yes, you're on the world stage. Yes, you're on all this, but if you're not in flow and you're not understanding and being interacted with properly, is it really worth it?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I want. But I want people to have it worth it, so that every time they wake up and they touch their feet in the floor in the morning, they go, "I'm going to play today."
Yeah.
They're not worried about performance because they're just going to go and be themselves.
Yes.
And this is where I believe is the key to be able to make the game better, to make, to take things to the next level, and to be able to, again, allow people, managers, coaches, directors of football, all these people to be able to change the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a big factor. I think that what you said there as well, that if players could go out and play like for the fun of the game, and regardless of whether they as long as they're doing their best and they're playing it as well as they can play, but they lose, they can accept it because it's part of the game, and they don't get depressed by that. They just go on the next game. They just say, "We can win next week, but we did our best. We lost today because the opposition were better," or whatever.
Yeah,
that's the best way. That's the best mentality to have.
And that's where we go. We tell the truth. they were the better side. Great, there's the acceptance.
Yeah.
Once we have a measurable way of understanding who we are as human beings, we can then accept that.
Yeah.
But people are always trying to put on a different face, persona, personality, because they can't own themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We can literally show these people how to own themselves, understand unconsciously how they're going to gain energy.
Yes.
So why would anyone not want to do this? Why would anyone not want this to be brought into sport?
Yeah.
I would say that's more important than VAR.
Yeah, I would agree.
I
with
would
you.
say that's more important than, anyone learning to throw a ball or anyone learning how to a dietitian.
No, I agree. Since the first I've met you and spoke to you about this is definitely for me the way ahead. This is what the game needs, and the game will benefit from having this.
And since the last kind of 4 years, I will say, I'm not a doctor, so I can't treat anyone medically.
Yeah,
I am not a football coach, so I can't teach them how to coach.
Yeah,
I am not a teacher, but I can't teach people how to teach. I'm not a psychologist, and I can't teach people how to be psychologists. However, every single one of these people come to me to teach them who they are uniquely, so that they can be the best teacher, the best psychologist, the best coach, the best parent, the best partner, and they realise that they gain energy while being that. And that's life's meant to be fun.
Yeah.
And what happens is it becomes so serious for all these interactions that are abusive, or so serious that people are so consciously trying to find happiness or trying to be happy in their role, that the whole point of being happy is to accept and to understand. So what I like to do is to give people that information so they can then accept themselves, and other people can accept them as well, not for what they are, but for who they are.
Yeah, excellent.
It's great. So no, I look forward to seeing where this goes, and obviously working further with you, Gordon, because again, a man that's with your experience, I mean, it's invaluable to me.
Yeah.
And if I'm able to then give you what you were writing, I mean, you've got your pad there, what I gave you 14 years ago. It's like all the stuff you wanted to do. It's like you've now found a key to unlock how to do all this.
Absolutely.
And we've got all the time in the world to be able to get it done.
I'm looking forward to working with you, Colin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks very much for coming on today. Take it easy.
Pleasure. You too.
Cheers.